What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over a Dragapult Charizard EX deck that placed 32nd last year in Aichi, Japan. It was played by Kensuke Yamamoto. I had a lot of fun playing this deck. I never really was able to finish a match with it because every time that I got close to the end, my opponent would just concede. So that kind of lets you know what kind of deck this is. It's one of those decks that's kind of annoying. It really kind of messes up your opponent's bench. It can sometimes mess up your opponent's hand too, depending on what cards you're playing. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's jump into it. This deck rewards good sequencing and smart decision making. So in this video, I'll explain the game plan, how you set up, how Dragapult and Charizard work together, and how you can actually win games with it. Let's get into this list. At a high level, this deck wants to control the pace of the game. You're not trying to rush 6 prizes as fast as possible. Instead, Dragapult EX is your main attacker and board controller. You spread damage, soften Pokemon, and disrupt your opponent. Then once you're behind on prizes, Charizard EX comes in and starts taking big knockouts to finish the game. So if you ever feel like you're losing early, that's actually when this deck becomes the most dangerous. Let's start with the Dragapult line. We play 4 Dreepy, 4 Drakloak, and 2 Dragapult EX. Dragapult EX is the heart of this deck. It's not just about hitting the active Pokemon, it's about placing damage on the bench, which lets you pick off basics, stop evolutions, and set up multi-prize turns later. Drakloak is also important because it helps you draw cards, so you usually want at least one Drakloak in play, but you don't want to overbench them. Next is the Charizard package. 3 Charmander, 1 Charmeleon, 2 Charizard EX. Charizard EX is the late game finisher. Once you're behind on prizes, Charizard hits harder and harder, letting you one-shot Pokemon that Dragapult has already softened. You almost never rush Charizard early, unless you have to. It shines in the mid to late game. As for support Pokemon, we have a very flexible lineup. Starting with Budew, it slows down item-heavy decks early. Fezandipiti EX is a huge after disruption, especially after Iono or Unfair Stamp. Munkidori lets you move damage around, which helps fix math or save Pokemon from being KO'd. Chi-Yu is more of a surprise attacker and late game cleaner. So all of these support Pokemon have a purpose that they serve, so none of them are random. This deck really shines in the trainer lineup. So let's go ahead and talk about the setup. Usually you want to start off with Buddy-Buddy Poffin, which allows you to fill up your bench with Dreepy and Charmander. And then if you have one, go ahead and use your Ultra Ball. It's going to help you find your evolutions, and it also sets up for a Super Rod. And then, like always, there's an Arven. It's huge in this deck. It allows you to grab your rare candies, your TM evolutions, your Buddy-Buddy Poffins. Also, if you didn't have an Ultra Ball already, it lets you grab an Ultra Ball if needed. Now, the trainers that are going to help you with your evolution stages is going to be, obviously, Rare Candy. Mainly, it's going to be used for Charizard, followed by TM Evolution. This is going to help you stabilize bad hands and skip awkward turns. So the following cards are going to be used to disrupt your opponent's gameplay. So we have Iono and Unfair Stamp. It's going to allow you to be able to shrink your opponent's hand, especially if they spent their last turn searching for cards that they needed for whatever their strategy is. This is really going to allow you to disrupt it. So Counter Catcher is going to punish the opponent that's ahead on prizes. It's going to allow you to be able to switch out any Pokemon from their bench as they're active, allowing you to kind of use it as a boss's orders. That being said, boss's orders. It's going to help you close those games out. As for the stadium, it's Jamming Tower. It's going to shut off the tools and it's going to slow down momentum. All these cards when paired together, you're going to be constantly forcing your opponent to play with fewer resources. Alright, so let's talk about your early game setup. You're going to want to see multiple Dreepy on the bench, at least one Charmander, and a solid hand using your Buddy-Buddy Poffin and Arven. So an ideal board for this deck would be an active Dreepy or a Charmander, and 2 Dreepy on the bench, along with 1 Charmander on the bench, and potentially a Budew. So remember, don't focus on prize cards right now, you're just getting Dragapult ready. So remember, once Dragapult EX is attacking, the game slows down, but it's going to be in your favor. Make sure you're using your Dragapult wisely. You're going to use it to pressure the active Pokemon, spread damage to the bench, and start planning those future knockouts. So just remember to combine your attacks with Iono or Unfair Stamp to keep your opponent stuck. You don't need to take prizes every turn, you just need to make sure your opponent can't recover. Alright, let's talk about Charizard EX. Late game is where Charizard shines. Once you're behind on prizes, or if you're behind on prizes, you're going to Rare Candy into Charizard EX. Make sure you use its Infernal Rain ability to be able to attach those energies to it, and start taking huge knockouts. Charizard cleans up everything Dragapult softened earlier. With Counter Catcher and Boss's Orders, you control exactly how the game ends. Alright guys, now that you've heard me talk and ramble about how this deck works, and what cards are in it, let's go ahead and jump in, and let's go over a little bit of gameplay. So as you can tell, I got a pretty good hand. But I didn't want to lose my Dreepy right out the gate since I was going second. It would have been nice to have a Budew, but instead I went with Chi-Yu just so I could have someone to take attacks. So my opponent plays a Wellspring Ogerpon along with a Latias EX onto his bench. Then he goes ahead and nest balls once again to find himself a Kangaskhan. He switches out his Wellspring Ogerpon for Mega Kangaskhan. He goes ahead and hits that Run Errand ability, giving him 2 more cards. He nest balls once again, getting a Teal Mask Ogerpon. He uses the ability Teal Dance. It allows him to get a basic grass energy, attach it to him from his hand, and then allows him to get another card. Alright, so it's my turn. I play Buddy-Buddy Poffin, I get myself a Charmander and a Dreepy. I go ahead and play Arven, I get a Rare Candy and an Air Balloon. I attach the Air Balloon to Chi-Yu. I just want to be able to retreat whenever I get a chance to. Since I know I don't have that many energies, I don't want to waste any of them on a retreat. Then I end my turn. My opponent uses Run Errand to get 2 cards, followed by Teal Dance to be able to attach a grass energy, allowing him to get an extra card. He places out Forest of Vitality Stadium card, also plays a Dawn, and right away you can see Forest of Vitality in action when he evolves his Chikorita he placed down into Bayleaf, followed by Meganium. Switches out to Wellspring Ogerpon. And he kind of thinks about what he wants to do for a little bit, and then he ends up going with Torrential Pump. And so he has to shuffle his 3 energy cards into his deck, and then he's able to do 120 damage to one of my Pokemon on the bench, along with 100 damage to my active. So during my turn, I'm trying to figure out what the best thing I should do is, whether I should evolve or should I attach an energy. So I go ahead and just use a Rare Candy to be able to evolve my Dreepy into Dragapult, since that's the one I made my active Pokemon. I go ahead and I use Lillie's Determination just to give myself another hand, just to see what better odds I'd have. I was able to play Jamming Tower, which allowed me to get rid of their stadium. Then I just went ahead and ended my turn by using Jet Headbutt. My opponent goes ahead and uses Teal Dance, attaches the grass energy. He's able to draw one, then he uses Precious Trolley. He places down a Regigigas and then plays Lillie's Determination. He places one of those energy cards that allows him to choose a new active Pokemon, and he once again sends out his Kangaskhan EX. He runs an errand, and then it's my turn. I get a Luminous Energy from my draw, which is perfect, because that's what I needed, because I don't have any Psychic Energies. Just remember, Luminous Energies is what's going to power this deck, since you don't run any Psychic Energies, especially on your Dragapult. And you only want to attach one on each Dragapult. You don't want to attach more than one. Then I play my Iono to try to disrupt my opponent's hand, since I know he's been looking for cards, and he just got a new hand when he used Lillie's Determination, which allows me immediately to get a Dreepy and a Charmander, which I place them on my bench. Then I go ahead and play my Counter Catcher. I bring out his Wellspring Ogerpon, since it already had damage on it, and I hit him with that Phantom Dive. So Phantom Dive does 200 damage to the active Pokemon, and then I can do 60 damage across the board to the bench Pokemon. So I spread it across Latias, Ogerpon, and Kangaskhan, so that way if they become the actives, I can go ahead and do one-hit knockouts, and as well as spread damage on my next turn. This is where planning ahead strategy kind of kicks in. Take my 2 price cards, and he goes ahead and leads with his Kangaskhan, because he probably knows I can't one-hit knockout. He begins by running his errand. He hits that Teal Dance. He goes ahead and places down a Buneary after using a Nest Ball. He attaches the Grass Energy to Regigigas, and then he switches out. And then he kind of just thinks. I think he's trying to figure out what his next move is going to be. Beginning my turn, I get a Drakloak. I immediately evolve my Dreepy into it, so that way I can use its ability. Recon Directive. It allows me to be able to look at the top 2 cards of my deck and pick one of them and put it into my hand. I take the Buddy-Buddy Poffin, and then I also evolve my Charmander into Charmeleon. I play my Buddy-Buddy Poffin. I get a Charmander and a Dreepy, and I've also attached the Fire Energy to Drakloak. So now that my bench is sitting pretty nice, I go ahead and I use Iono to disrupt my opponent's hand. I get a Drakloak, I immediately evolve my Dreepy. I use Recon Directive. I go ahead and grab a Luminous Energy. I go ahead and I use Phantom Dive from Dragapult EX, and I start spreading that love, baby. I get my prize card, and now my opponent once again starts off with Kangaskhan. He goes ahead and runs that errand. He goes ahead and hits me with that Hilda. Once again, he does that Teal Dance. He goes ahead and plays a Night Stretcher, gets Grass Energy and attaches it to Teal Ogerpon. He plays an Energy Switch and he attaches it to Kangaskhan. Then he attacks me and does 330 damage to my Dragapult EX. I didn't know who I'd send out, so then afterward I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna send out Charmeleon, which worked out perfectly for me because I immediately got a Charizard EX, which I evolved it, and you know I hit that Infernal Rain. I immediately spread out my energies. I gave 2 to Charizard, and then I gave 1 to Dreepy on the bench, and I started hitting my Recon Directives to, you know, get some extra cards on my hand. I went ahead and hit him with that Unfair Stamp because, you know, he just knocked out one of my Pokemon. I got a Dragapult EX. You know I immediately evolved. So when you look at my bench, the opponent already knows I got one in the chamber ready to go. I go ahead and I play Lillie's Determination so I can go ahead and get a new hand. And then immediately I get an Ultra Ball. And I'll play that. I go ahead and I get Fezandipiti EX. And I hit that flip the script so I can get some extra cards, especially since he knocked out one of my Pokemon last turn. I go ahead and I attack my opponent for 300, and I watch him as he loses 4 grass energies right out the gate. I take my prize cards, and once again he leads off with Mega King's Con. He goes ahead and runs his errand. He attaches an energy to Mega King's Con, and then he tries to hit me with that rapid fire. He flips 2 coins and he only does 250 damage, so my Charizard is still kicking. I was just about to start making some moves, and as you can tell, my opponent, he just concedes. Overall, this deck rewards patience, sequencing, and smart disruption. If you like control style decks that punish mistakes, this is the deck for you. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what deck you want to see next. Thanks.